It's not something anyone ever plans on living in for an extended period of time, but sometimes it happens to the best of us, depending on the circumstances. And unfortunately, it started a cascade of events that launched me into survival mode. And I'm here to talk about it and share my story. And hopefully, in doing that, my struggles weren't in vain, and I will be able to help other people and maybe prevent them going through some of the hardships I've had to recently. And so what I'll say is, as a child, I went through it, but I didn't really know what it was. It didn't really have a name. It didn't have a label, or at least not one that I was exposed to or the people in my community were. Parental alienation is unique in the way that you try to purposely poison your child's viewpoint against the other parent and really go out of your way to sabotage the relationship. It's very harmful to the children. And I think sometimes parents who purposely or not purposely partake in it or execute it don't realize how damaging it is to children. And I was completely victimized because I'm not a perfect person. There were faults I made. But with that being said, when I left my ex-husband, he went out of his way to alienate me from my children. It's something that I don't think any parent can prepare themselves for. The circumstances at which I had gone through, unfortunately, I made a lot of really, really poor decisions while I was in survival mode. 6 hours in front of me, I was only able to make decisions for the following day. And it was very crippling. And I felt exceptionally shameful too, because truthfully, it's something I didn't really understand. Well, the parent must have not been loving enough, not been caring enough, might have done things incorrectly, obviously, as a parent that would lead to an estranged relationship. Because what child would abandon their parent or really dislike their parent unless there was obvious abuse and neglect? I was immersed in incredible shame, in substantial shame, to the point where it was difficult for me to talk about it with colleagues, with friends, with relatives. And I think that's in part because there's really not much understanding in the community about parental alienation. And furthermore, it's not really something that's not just understood, but the legal system, the family court system doesn't even really recognize the terminology. It's so insidious. And when you think about child abuse or spousal abuse, there are obvious signs of physical abuse and neglect. And there's things that are measurable that the system can identify and treat, and also can be punitive. They can do something to the aggressor, of course. But with parental alienation, that's not always the case.
I suspect my father is a narcissist, and
Mm.
I didn't understand his reasoning. But I was a data's girl, right? And that I remember that conversation was a major turning point for me.
I think every time I hear someone, and it's unfortunate that I shouldn't say that I smile inside when I hear someone else sharing the story about parental alienation, but it just helps validate my experience that it is real. I think sometimes when we go through something, we don't really know the predisposing factor, the precipice of what sent us off into survival modes. I started making risky financial decisions, just investing in things, gambling in a way, not going to casinos, but doing anything I could to, make quick revenue. I realized that I have to make a sudden and quick change, or I'm going to destroy myself. I'm going to implode. And the worst case scenario could happen. He really was for so long. And I let so many things slide. Like, it altered my whole perception of my self-worth. It's really hard to try to reinvent yourself and change your perception of who you are and why this happened during a time of extreme grief and anguish. But when you embody that mindset, then it strips you of your power. It strips you of your willingness to change.
There is a saying, in order for change to occur, your willingness to change has to be greater than your willingness to remain the same. That chaos is That's one thing we do get addicted to without even realizing. Like,
Mhm.
oftentimes we think that after events we are going to go back to what it was before, and that is a fallacy, right?
Yes. I
We
couldn't.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, it takes so much mental fortitude, the strength that I have to employ every day to not fall back into survival mode sometimes because of how long I was living in an unfortunate circumstance that I wasn't aware of. And I think that's why I I committed myself so entirely to my career is because it's so much easier, I think, sometimes to focus on other people and try and help them.
It's not, I'm surviving today. You know, it's not that. It's oftentimes, you get to this place where you recognize a change needs to happen and you implement that willingness that you spoke about to make that change happen. And then it's that reflection afterwards. Wow, I was really in that state for a very long time. Survival mode is autopilot. You are essentially just existing.
I felt the need to write a book. So I have a book that's about to be published. It's called Shattered Bonds, Resilient Heart. I only hope that when people go through this, they are able to recognize the warning signs and when it is occurring to make the conscious decisions to stop it. I realized once I exit survival mode, the things that matter most in my life aren't what others may think about me, which is what I was consumed about during survival. I would say, uh, first and foremost, forgive yourself, love yourself. I think when you go through survival mode, inevitably you can't help but be very critical of yourself at times and question how you got there and what you did to put yourself there. When you're so traumatized and you're so unhappy, you can't help but be extremely critical of yourself and question every decision you make. But real growth doesn't happen until you accept yourself and your flaws and all the circumstances that happened that got you there.
But you damn sure were not built to just survive. Disrupt the cycle, reclaim your life, and thrive on your own terms.